always exciting when Harvard and Princeton collide in athletics. Long-time rivalry, and we get this match going. First point goes to the Tigers, who, as you mentioned, Tyler, had that thrilling 5-set victory last night. And they came back. They were down 2-1 in that one, had to rally, win that 4th set, and they went on to take the 5th as well.
And it was a game that really featured both teams having to hang in there at times, but more so for Princeton really during some of those stretches, especially early on in those opening 3 sets. The Crimson came out really with a fast and furious type pace, but give full marks to the Tigers for how they were able to ultimately hang in and come away with the victory in 5.
Allen denied from up front, and Harvard evens the first set at 1 apiece.
There's Brian Thomas right on cue.
Birdie to serve. Nice play in front there for the kill, as it was Tristan Whitfield coming away with that one. He had 7 kills last night. Princeton, they're a big team up front. They're a physical team at the net. Block extremely well.
Whitfield, a big part of that for the Tigers.
On the far side, Bishop gets a touch for Harvard. Crimson are a good passing team as they work the ball around. Mellon gets denied by the block in front. Who is on?
The service error there on Thomas, and that was a real storyline in a negative way for the Crimson in terms of last night's match, when they registered 20. And those were opportunities for the Tigers to get themselves back into some of those sets. Mentioned how they were able to hang in. That also played in part to how sloppy the Crimson were at times, handling the ball on those serves.
Kelly to serve for Princeton. And overpass, as Harvard was trying to set that one up, but it carried a little bit too far over the net. The Tigers on a little bit of a run here, taking advantage of that service error. Kelly now racking up the next couple of points. Trying to make it 4 in a row for Princeton. Near side birdie, that one was deflected. Now Mellon straight into the block. Back again up in the front. One of the longer rallies we've had so far. And the Tigers win their 4th straight point. Ryan Vina.
And despite the work from Owen Woolbert, Vanya's already been active to start this first set here for the Tigers.
And Woolbert. Powerful blast there, and the point finished off. Crimson Sawyer Nichols.
That's big there for Nichols, getting up over the top and trying to put a halt here to this early run for the Tigers. It was Harvard last night opening things up in the first set with a bit more of a faster pace, able to take an early lead.
That one deflected out. Nice job there by Vania to direct it off of the block. Wins the serve back for the Tigers.
And that senior in the middle, standing 6'7". Provides a ton of experience for a Tigers team that has a much different complexion than this Crimson side does coming into this season.
Nichols with a couple of early kills. Team leader on the year in kills per set. He racked up 8 of them yesterday. Quinn Bishop to serve. He's 3rd in the EIVA in aces. a little bit short. Couldn't quite pop it over the net as Bishop was going for a bit of a change up there, trying to get the ball up and over the block. Probably timed out well had it sailed over the net.
Bishop just couldn't get himself synced up there on the near side after Birdie made a nice play far side of the court there to keep it in bounds.
So far, that big block in the front for Princeton. They're getting involved, active hands. And that one blocked out. So Harvard pulls within 3. 4-0 run for Princeton earlier in this set. And at the moment, that's the difference.
Nice job by Bishop to come back there and this time finish it off with the kill.
The server keeps it in. And now on the near side, Nichols. He was saying entering this weekend that serving was the one thing that could definitely make the difference in this series. Harvard, a very aggressive team on the serve. A lot of times when you're aggressive on that serve, it does lead to some errors, though, on the other end.
It's a give and take. If you want to try and get aggressive and be aggressive off the serve. Sometimes mistakes are going to be something you have to live with, but it's about limiting those mistakes over the course of the match, pretty close statistically.
Point for Princeton makes it 12-6. Tigers so far error-free on the serve.
Justin Whitfield picking up the kill there for Princeton.
Dug out, and Birdie brings it back for Harvard.
Just what the doctor ordered there from the Crimson. Just something to get a little bit of life on this side here for Harvard. Try and just chip your way back into this opening set here that Princeton's largely controlled.
Kai Gann checks in coming out of the timeout. He's now in rotation. It's his first serve of the match. Nice job. Great setup there by the Tigers to win that point.
It's the setup there that allows for that one-on-one matchup at the net to be created, and that's something that the Tigers love to try and exploit right at the point of the attack. And we're in a good rhythm right now, it feels like, Steve.
Birdie with a little tap, but Mellon keeps it alive. Birdie tries again, back into the block and out. Justin Whitfield with serve. Soft serve, but nice location. And Fong had to hustle back to dig that out. Mellon once again. Diving effort there. A couple of bodies on the floor for the Tigers.
You gotta love the effort.
Trying to keep that one alive, right?
Gotta love the effort there to try and keep things alive, and that was the big man, Owen Mellon, near side. Trying to pick up where he left off. But the Tigers early on doing it by committee here.
Diving effort there. Thomas.
Senior laying it all out there.
Not able to keep it in, though. Unfortunately for Harvard, and it goes back to Princeton. The Tigers have had the upper hand to start. Won back-to-back sets to close out the match yesterday, and seem to have picked up right where they left off. Fong with a long way to go to grab that one. Now Wolbert here in the first. Winner goes to the EIVA Tournament. Misdirection there. Comes in, but ends up going out along that far sideline. Back-to-back Tiger points. Trying to pull away, extend their lead late in the first.
They used those early runs to get ahead by 4 on 2 separate occasions, and Crimson just have not been able to find a way back in.
Wilbert with the tap. Nice team effort, though, by the Tigers. Passing the ball well early. Into the front, Vania. Birdie gets denied by the block.
But certainly does feel like Princeton has been able to hold that in much more than the Crimson have been able to do so far in the early going. But this is the way you can start to chip away and get back into it.
Sawyer Nichols has had a nice first set. His team high 5th kill. Also a match high 5 on both sides.
He's going to need somebody else to join him here eventually and provide a little bit of support.
And that one goes out. Attempt from Werner. So back-to-back Harvard points coming out of the timeout. Crimson know they need to go on a run at this point. Wilbert with an excellent serve.
Really had to exhaust things the deeper that these sets went on.
4th straight serve for Wilbert. Vania with a nice touch. Birdie keeps it back on the Harvard side. And Vania finishes it off for the Tigers. Much needed point for Princeton to get them up to 20.
And that balanced attack continues. 4th kill for Vania. One of 3 Tigers already with multiple kills in this opening set. Birdie did a nice job along the net to protect things originally on that Harvard side. Try and get that ball back over, but good passing from the Tigers to set up Vania, and he continues to have the hot hand.
He checks out. Sebastian Daste checks in to serve. Harvard gets the point off of the block. Again with his 2nd serve of the match. Harvard trying to creep a little bit closer, cut it to 5.
Good job again by Nichols on that last go around for Harvard. He continues to really shoulder the load here in this first set. And he's been a real prominent presence at that net front area.
And serve makes contact with the net. Princeton fortunate to dig that one out, and they come away with the point.
Really nice job along the far side, and that was Andrew Werner, who you see on your screen there, number 17. Thought originally, Steve, that ball may have been sailing even out of bounds. Had to tightrope things along the far side of the court, but made a nice play and earned the Tigers another point.
And sets up Thomas. Another kill. Side, nice block there by Thomas. Bishop was in there also.
We've seen that 2-man front from the Crimson. Thomas has been in the middle of a couple of the blocks here in this first set. Senior now set to serve.
dig that time. Little tap over. Good diving effort by Gann.
2 of them there.
That one goes out. So it's back to 4. Harvard has chipped into the Princeton lead just a bit.
2 really big digs there from Kai Gann to allow for the Crimson to keep this faint beat pulsating.
Tigers led it 19-11. And that one just stays in the corner. Huge point for Princeton. So they're now 1 away from winning the set. Mellon with the kill.
Did he ever pick a great time to have a career night? Practically the season on the line for Princeton here this weekend.
Nolan Kelly trying to serve it out. And Wilbert keeps Harvard alive.
Really nice setup. Gann, Kelly, a quick 1-2, and Wilbert early on here through this first set, he's shown not to be afraid to drop the hammer on a couple of these balls.
Crimson need 4 in a row from Nichols. Blocked in front. Birdie sends it up. Wilbert with the touch. LVR sets for Princeton. Back over. And Nichols, a hard hit but dug out. And Crimson stay alive.
Both of these teams would love to eliminate each other as well from having that opportunity to qualify.
Pena back in there for Princeton.
Good job by Fung.
And there's the kill.
Not taking anything away from what Princeton was able to pull off, but a sign of a good team and a sign of a team that's been able to have success is, can you take advantage of your opponent's mistakes and miscues?
Birdie. Attempt to dig it out, but too much on that one. Zach Birdie, season high 16 kills yesterday, gets one to give Harvard their first lead of the match at 2-1.
See now if the Crimson can get things on a run here a little bit, try and stretch things out.
Nice block in front. Thomas was in there. Looked like Gann was in the mix as well.
Gann, I believe, was the second man on the leap. But Thomas has had really good coverage on those blocks. He's had really good support. And that's an area of the court where if the Crimson can come out on the better side of, can help them swing this match around.
Pena knocks that one out. Gann sets up for Thomas. It's immediately blocked, sent right back onto the Harvard side. Princeton trying to pull even. First handful of points in set number 2 after the Tigers took the first. Gann for Thomas, they try it again. Again to the near side for Birdie. They use the block, deflected out.
Ethan Wells and Ryan Banya trying to cover as much space there as they can from left to right. It was that block off the right side that ended up going all the way out.
Set up by Fung. And the big block in front.
And Birdie just couldn't bash it through there. That front line of 3 this time, standing stacked and tall. As Princeton gets themselves inching and inching closer.
Birdie tools the block. Nichols comes away with it for Harvard. Led the team in kills in the opening set. Gets his first one of set 2.
He just continues to shoulder the load here for the Crimson.
Up to 7 in the match. Another error on the serve. Starting to sound like a broken record. And it's frustrating when you're setting up points well, executing the block well, passing the ball, but serving something that seems the most simple in the game, but it can be so frustrating when you're not landing them.
You have to wonder too if it's something that starts to become much more of a mental issue more than anything from a physical or technical kind of standpoint.
And again, we talked about it in the first, right? When you're an aggressive team on the serve, there are going to be times where you're going to make more errors just because you're trying to go for back corners and you're trying to paint the lines. And if it's in, it's an ace. If it's out, it's an error. But some of the serves that go into the net are just not placed well and not struck well. Those are the ones that really stick with you the most.
And like we also said earlier, Steve, you've got to be willing to live with certain mistakes at times during the course of a game. There's a time and place for when you need to get aggressive. Right now, you've been able to play most of this second set here with the lead.
Wolbert, the kill for the Crimson. Took a couple of attempts, but he stuck with it. Harvard, despite the handful of errors on the serve, a much better start to the second set.
Third kill for Wolbert in this game. He's going to have to be a big factor for the Crimson this afternoon.
And the block in front, it was Wolbert in there along with Birdie.
He's one of the team's top returning blockers. He had 57 last season. 11 kills in his last match against these Tigers. Just an omnipresent player for Harvard.
In the front, Mellon trying to get things going for Princeton. I called his name so far.
You wouldn't want it, I think at least, to be scripted any other way, especially with it being senior day here for the Crimson. It's been a difficult season. You've gone through some ups and downs. It's a different group, like we've mentioned. A lot of first-year players on this Harvard team. But go out with a bang and see what happens. If you get into the postseason, everybody resets and all bets are off come that time of the year.
Whitfield with the kill out of the timeout. He serves. Immediately sent back. Harvard can't get it up and over. Back-to-back Tiger points since their timeout. And they're back within 2.
And that was the response the Tigers were needing and looking for out of that break. Try and see if they can get some of their mojo back here in this second set.
Birdie continues to thrive for Harvard. Build on those 16 kills yesterday. Finish off the weekend strong and send the Crimson to the conference tournament.
He's up to 6 now.
Trying to extend that senior season of his. Wolbert with the touch into the front for Birdie. Over the block, but out.
Thoroughly looked at and corrected. Score doesn't change.
And from our vantage point, it worked out. Umpires agree, so back to the action, and Harvard wins that point. So they don't get the one on Purdy's ball that went out, but they'll come right back and win that one. So it's 13-10, Crimson with Gann to serve.
Gann picking up that point there.
A lot of power on that attack by Wells, but no one sails out. Crimson lead is back to 4. Challenging the point almost worked out as a timeout in a sense, and even an extended timeout. Came at a nice time for Harvard to regroup despite still losing that point. Nice touch from Thomas in the front. Sometimes you don't need a lot of power on it, just a well-placed ball.
A little bit of finesse there from the senior, who's been in the perfect spot really all game long. Just a touch there to beat all the Tigers there into space. But that all comes from the Crimson making more adjustments around the net, around that front three, trying to counter the presence that Princeton's been able to establish, and finding different ways now to get over and get through some of those blocks.
Tigers get one back to stop the bleeding after the lead swelled to 5. And right back at it, it's Thomas.
And this time he's going to show you a little bit more of the power on this finish. Wouldn't it be fitting, Steve, on a day like today, for one of the seniors, if not both, and we've called both of their names already frequently through the first 2 sets, but how fitting would it be for them to help this Harvard side leading the way into the postseason?
Both Birdie and Thomas have been extremely involved. Thomas with 3 kills, racking up a couple in this set. And Birdie with 6, second most on the team today. Led by Sawyer Nichols with 8. Right back into the block and out. Quinn Bishop able to win the point.
Bishop going up that time against 2, and Werner and Engling. And those are those matchups that if Harvard can come away victorious more often than not, it's going to allow for them to sustain some of these leads if they can get to them here as these sets continue on.
17-13, Crimson trying to even up the match at 1 set apiece.
They haven't done a lot of chasing from a blocking standpoint. Harvard has.
Wilbert taps it over the block that time, but dug out. Wilbert was trying to stuff it back, but it goes out of bounds along the far sideline. Still some time left in set 2 when Princeton is attempting to go on a little run of their own. Get right back into this. Tigers would love nothing more than a 2-set advantage. Diving effort, just trying to keep that one alive. Vania did all he could.
That's all you can ask for there out of Vania. Trying to save it, but at that point the ball was pretty much going underneath the net anyway. Trying to keep it off the floor there.
Here's Vania, keeps that one in.
There's some power for you.
One of the harder hit balls we've seen today.
Vania had 6 kills in yesterday's match. Even one of the Tigers to pace the way. He's up to 7 now. But the contributions still have been fairly spread out. We haven't called much of Owen Mellon.
Trying to respond following the timeout. Princeton has won 4 of the last 5 points. Attack error comes at a bad time for Harvard. Princeton can now tie it up here on this serve. Whitfield serving. Nice job there by Birdie to keep the Harvard lead.
And that's how you respond there. Don't let the mistake of that last error get you down. Sawyer Nichols has had an outstanding game for Harvard. So you pick your teammate and your team back up with a pretty powerful strike there.
Sideline, couple fingers on it for Harvard, but can't keep the point alive. This team's battling late in the second set. Princeton won the first, 25-21. This is set dominated by the Tigers. Didn't trail in the first. And now Princeton, they've rallied to tie it up after trailing by 5 points earlier.
That just grazed off the top of the net there on that serve from Kelly. I'm not sure if that threw things off from the Crimson standpoint. But it just looked like everybody froze there on the Harvard side of the court.
Birdie goes low to dig it out and then sends it over. Mellon with the tap, denied by the block. Mellon again.
Was what last night's match was all about. For every good shot that the Crimson were able to throw, the Tigers absorbed it, and vice versa until the very end.
Birdie comes away with the critical point for Harvard. Level the score, really needed that one.
You said it, Steve, critical. This is not the time now to let things slip away. You've put in a lot of good work. You've cleaned things up here in this second half to give yourself a chance. You don't want to lose it now late.
Mellon with some pop on that one. Keeps it inside the line. Could have been deflected too on the way going back there.
It was, and I couldn't tell the Crimson player that it deflected off of back there. But Mellon starting to flex a little bit more here, trying to put his punctuation mark on this second set.
Blocked and it goes out.
Thomas again. And isn't it fitting, Steve? Thomas and Birdie here in crunch time in this second set. Points are at a premium. Harvard needs them. And they get back-to-back plays from their seniors to get it tied 22-all.
There's Vania. In the back corner, and Harvard couldn't return. Must-win match today for both of these teams. Possibly a must-win set, at least for the Crimson.
And to go down by 2 here in a set that you've really fought hard for. Got to wonder how much would be left in the tank to try and rip off 3.
Nice kill from Thomas.
34 total in this set, or in this series against Princeton, I should say.
Set point. Wilbert. And it goes out. I love the resiliency from the Tigers in that last set.
They've shown a ton of it here, dating back to last night.
By the block. Touched too many times, I believe. And back-to-back points for Harvard as they get off to a good start in the third. Crimson trying to defend home court here on Senior Day. And for Zach Birdie, Brian Thomas, their final home match. They're hoping it's not their final Harvard match. One sent out off of the block.
Nichols.
The Tigers with their first point of the third. Pennsylvania's been a hot hand for the Tigers today. Team high 8 kills. Diving dig that time by Birdie. And the Tigers win the point up front. They're fired up. See the emotion over there on their sideline. Brought the energy today. Got to bring it when you go on the road, especially knowing going into the weekend. These were must-win matches.
And that's something that, when you think of sport, you think of the physical toll that it takes, but the mental and emotional side of it, just as important for both of these teams. And the Tigers, they've been able to sustain this since the first set.
Regular season champions in the EIVA, so they do have some experience. Lost a lot of the firepower from that team, but still returning some key players, and those guys know what it's like to win. It's been a program with some conference titles over the years, conference final appearances. So they've made deep runs, experienced coaching and leadership, and just treating this weekend like early tournament games, essentially. And that one just goes out over the near sideline. 2-point advantage for Princeton. To fight hard and rally back in the second set from down 5 to win it.
Smart play there by Alviar, too, to back off that ball, having the recognition of knowing where it was going, knowing when to just take the free point.
Long sets it up for Thomas. And now Mellon, denied by the block.
It's been Thomas and Nichols primarily working things up front for the Crimson. Thomas, he leads all Crimson blocks up to 4.
And there's the block again for Harvard. That one, though, just the first in the third set. Tapped over. That one sat on the net for a moment. By Fong and sent over by Bishop. And that one just connects with the net and stays on the Harvard side. Tough break there. Fong was just trying to punch it up to the front. Carried a little too much.
Those have been plays, it feels like, all match long that just have not been there for the Crimson. They haven't been able to get certain breaks at the net. And you need that sometimes, especially in games that are this big and this important. As Wilbert gets himself right back to work. What a game he's had. Under the radar, it's felt like Owen Wilbert here. We've spent a lot of time, rightfully so, talking about the 2 seniors who are spotlighted here this afternoon, but he's really stood out as well in his own right.
He's been great all season, 3rd in the conference in hitting percentage. Also among the top 10 in blocks.
It's a tough one there for Fong, who's been battling all afternoon long. Second on the Crimson in terms of digs here today, and seems like every time I've called his name, he's been diving out on the floor, trying to keep possessions alive, trying to keep the chance for points available.
Wilbert immediately sent back. Ethan Wells was the first one in there for the Tigers.
Real power on power there. Get that blank out of here. could be something for the Crimson, though, as this set is still within reach. Try and get Wilbert going here if you can.
Touched in front and then out.
And things really started to get down to the wire. Both teams found another gear. Harvard's going to have to find that now in this third set, a little bit earlier than they did last night. Thomas coming back in here for Harvard.
Birdie tools the block that time. With the added height in Thomas, the 7-footer up front. Center, Mellon had a good look. Mellon tries again off of Wilbert. Well-placed ball.
You're starting to see and hear a lot more of Owen Mellon dating back late to that second set. And you're only going to hear and see of him more here in this third set if the Tigers can continue to sustain this lead.
Here's a nice kill by Thomas. Mentioned him a moment ago, checking back in and making his presence known.
Thomas, along with his senior counterpart and Birdie, those two have combined now for 17 kills. 17 of the 34 for the Crimson here this afternoon.
Birdie, lined by the block, but it goes out.
This is the neighborhood that Harvard wants to be around in right now. Within a point or two.
Nice job by Princeton to maintain the lead.
Starting to exploit some of those one-on-one matchups. Something that this Tigers team enjoys to do. It's that style they try and embody.
Deflect immediately in front, but some contact up there at the net. Close third set, must win for Harvard to keep their season alive. Tapped over, diving effort.
It's just delicate from Mellon there.
Real nice touch.
He's a player where you just seem to anticipate power and ferocity every time when he comes up off the floor.
Catch that one quickly, just a little tap.
There's Fung again, just laying it all out. Trying to dig that ball. A real nice soft touch from Mellon.
Deceptive too, body's going one way, tap goes the other way.
Kelly's starting to be a presence growing up along that front three as well. Nice job teaming up with Engling on that two-man block. And this is where Princeton now, as they start to mix and match things a little bit, throw different looks at this Crimson team and almost leave it up to as if it's a guessing game. Who's going to beat you?
Much needed point there as Brian Thomas comes away with the kill. Back within two.
How many times have you said this afternoon, Steve, much needed or critical point, and it's been followed?
It's been Thomas or Birdie.
By either of the seniors. You know how much it means to them. They certainly have brought their best here to this game, which is crucial for Harvard in terms of having any success.
Harvard was fighting from behind for the entire first set. They led most of the way in the second set by as many as 5, but Princeton came back to win it by 2. And this set early was Harvard, but then Princeton jumped out. They've led by as many as 3. The Crimson with a couple of chances to knot up the score. They're trying to do so again. Mellon sends it directly into Thomas, who just catches it. Can't do anything with it as the ball just popped him right in the chest.
It's one of those plays where you're not totally expecting it, and so when it does happen, it's a tough position to find yourself in there. It's a free point on the other side for the Tigers, who will happily take it.
Mellon up to 9 kills. Tigers are led by Vania with 10. On the Harvard side, Birdie with the game-high 12.
In this particular match, Steve, when it's really come at the worst time, whenever things seem to be trending in a positive direction, Crimson just find a way to get back in their own way.
Nice job by Nichols, who was heavily involved in the first set. He's been a little bit quieter since, making his presence known there as smacks one to the back corner and a 1-hit out.
Really came out guns a-blazing in that first set, like you mentioned. Love to see him come back a little bit more to life here to 17 of the 22 in this match belong to Harvard.
Set up for Nichols, but out.
Harvard still got their fate and destiny in their hands. They can control things here, but got to find a spark and a lift, and that could be something there.
Nice mark there from Birdie. Tap into open space.
And you know, with number 8 and number 12 out there, no matter what happens through the course of this third set, they're going to continue to leave it all out there.
Beautifully done. Set up perfectly. And Princeton is 5 points away from the victory. This is one of the cleanest points we've seen today.
Really just on the setup. I mean, Whitfield, he gets all of it. It's a no-doubter. Punishes that ball, but beautifully done on that setup from Nolan Kelly. And that's what's really impressed me, Steve, about Princeton here in this match. It's not been a one-man show. Far from it.
Corner with the touch. And just sends it out.
Whitfield, a predominant player for these Tigers. He's done his job, and when called upon, Owen Mellon, he's been that threat that many teams have been accustomed to knowing throughout the course of the season. Speaking was pretty limited from Coach Bays because these guys know what's at stake and what they need to do here.
Excellent block in front by Whitfield. And Princeton, they continue to keep their foot on the gas. They're serving up by 5. Burgess lead of the set.
Whitfield showing why he's 4th in the EIVA in blocks per set. So many different tools that he provides and brings to this Princeton roster.
Touched in front in a diving effort, but the Tigers couldn't keep that one alive.
Still a pulse for Harvard here. But it feels more and more faint.
At this point, you know you need a big run at some point.
Really, it really starts here on this serve. And you really need Thomas to execute. It starts and really ends here. Match point bearing down.
Coming back for this weekend, one of the 2 seniors. Oh, what a time for Mellon to come through. Time and time again in the clutch. And Princeton is 1 point away from a 3-0 sweep today.
They were down in the second set, like you said, Steve, 18-13. And it wasn't until they got to within 1 point at 19-18 did Owen Mellon register 3 consecutive kills. Once again, late here in the set, he comes through.
Locked in front, Wolbert with the touch. Harvard's got to get it over here. That ball was headed out, but Princeton sets it up. And the Tigers are going to the EIVA Tournament. Princeton punches its ticket by winning back-to-back games this weekend on the road.